Hey guys, I was asked to do some work to the junk Magnum head. This is the one that had the builder's valves in them. So I do not have a pilot, whatever size that is at this point. So what I was able to do was put a loose fitting pilot in and just do a crummy top cut and a crummy throat cut very gently, and just shrink up the 45 a little bit. You can see the 45 is still quite wide. I just took some of the mountain range out of the chamber. Certainly not my best work. And the exhaust got the same thing, and then I did a 2-second radius, and see what we got. The chamber got some rust taken off of it. Okay. The bowl got a very quick in and out. Shaped the guide a little bit. The inside, the center wall of the intake port is actually thicker on the stock Magnum than it is on the EQ Magnum. I'm not sure if you can see, we have our nice generous crack. I think that comes like that from the factory. Okay. I don't even remember if I did the stock flows on this. Wow, I'm toast, guys, sorry. Okay, when I say this got a minimum amount of work, it got a minimum amount of work. I just touched the short side a little bit, took some of the lumps and bumps off of it, gave it a quickie cartridge roll. Took out the bolt boss on the roof just to give it a touch more area. Don't go crazy giving it area there, because that's not what this port wants. It wants more area down towards the bottom. You can see I didn't take anything really off where the bolt goes from the shared wall. And the roof didn't get much off. You can still see some casting marks on it. Right? You can see our liquid flow all the way down. Looks fair. I don't see anything on the other side of the guide. We do have a nice spread of dicum on the chamber itself. Let's take a look at the bore. The bore is okay. It is nice and wide. It's a little thin, but I may have sprayed a little bit less. We do have some droplets there. You can see I did a minimum amount of work on the inside of this. It even has a big spot. It looks like I didn't touch that lower short side. It's a little tough to get to, but I think the burr actually did hit that in most of those spots. Just that let's move the light. Okay, you can see we moved the light a little bit. It has been hit, but as soon as we move the light, because of the crazy curve on that wall, it's a shadow. Okay. Okay, the short side actually got a decent amount of work because the stock short side is in a little rough shape. It seems to be about the same height as the EQ Magnum, but it wasn't as good a shape as the EQ Magnum, so it needed a little more work. Took some of the cuts out of it, did not lower it, really didn't make it any wider either. Took the lumps and bumps off. Let's show you the stocker. Okay, that's the stocker, right? You got a mountain range above the valve. You've got a huge throat cut with a sharp edge, and then you have the short side radius. That can certainly be improved. Okay, you can see how little amount of time I put in on these. The exhausts on the stockers are not nearly as clean as the EQ head, but that bowl is definitely deeper. We've got some serious paste ooze lines, and to be honest, with the shape of it, they really have to stay, because if you take out those lines, you're not really doing yourself a favor. Okay, between the thinness of the casting and where the air wants to go, it's not really a help. Okay, you can see from your radius into, there's a big divot. You're better off leaving that divot. If you take that all out, you wind up ruining your throat ratio. Not going to help anything. Made that mistake before. Okay, we got a lot of shadow on there, but you can see the bowl did have some work done to it. And where it really needs the area is on the divider wall between the intake and the exhaust port. You got to take some metal out of that, but you have to be careful how thin it is. Like I said, it's thicker than the EQ. The EQ, you could just clean it up and you're done. This you could take a little more metal out of. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could open these up quite big. But don't call me and say, Charlie, I've got a set of Magnums I want you to do a ton of work to. Because you see that crack? It makes me not want to put 100 hours into a set of heads. Sorry. There's got to be a better, there has to be something better to put that much time and effort into. As far as our liquid flow, just that little bit of work, I think, paid off. I think that we're good that way. I almost forgot to show you what's on the valve. It's relatively wide across the face of the valve. Okay, the exhaust got a little bit of a radius and took some of the lumps and bumps out and gave it a 2-second cartridge roll. Done. Okay. Okay, same thing with the roof of the exhaust port. It really doesn't need a tremendous amount of work. Square it up, take some lumps and bumps off of it. I gave it a quickie cartridge roll, and that's it. And as quick as this still was, it was still about 2 hours to get an intake and an exhaust port done. Unfortunately, I take a long time to get anything done. Okay, short side of the exhaust really doesn't need much work. It's got a good shape to begin with. Same deal. Take some lumps and bumps off, hit it with a cartridge roll, you're done. Overall, these do represent a decent pickup over stock Magnums with a minimum amount of work that anybody can probably do. You know, first is it's going to need good guides. It's going to need a good valve job. Everything else is an extra. Okay, I don't think I showed you the view all the way down the port. It's still a little wavy, but remember, it's a first cut. I don't even know if I'm going to do a second cut. And I actually need to ask whether you want me to cut up the one I did some porting on, or you want me to cut up the other end cylinder that's completely stock. You guys can give me some feedback on that. Let's take a look at what we got as far as flows. Okay, guys, this is what we got. I don't remember if I did a video on this. If I do, I'll post it. If not, you'll get it here. Okay, this is what it did stock. Okay, we maxed out around 217. Really not bad for a stock head. That's better than a Fuelie would do. Better than a Chevy Fuelie, right? Chevy Fuelie with a small 194 valve just breaks maybe 200. With a 202, it's only about 208. Okay, so it's better than that, and it's definitely a fuller curve as well. It's really not bad for a stock head. For what it's designed for, right in this 400 stock cam range here, it's pretty good. Not thrilled about the swirl curve. Okay, we shouldn't have these high numbers here and then down, and then it dies as it starts to go. Actually, this is 1340. As soon as it starts going, skipping off the short side, it picks up quite a bit. But that is below the stock cam. So that's not really helpful at that point, right? That was the rebuilder valve without a back cut. I did that. So if we move over to here, this is my crappy porting. So figure an hour per port. more or less. And I did put a 45 on both valves, so they're in better shape. I did the above cut, below cut, and the porting. The 45 is exactly what it was, because there's no way I would be able to do a 45 without the right size pilot. So how did we do? Well, we got a big pickup down low. Huge, right? 300, we went from 160 to 202.8, which, considering what it is not bad. Okay, 400, 203, 235. Notice we had a little bit of noise here. That was just starting to lose it on the short side, and I could hear it. Okay, 224. All right, that just about maxed out right around 236, 237. It was done. And the most lift I could squeeze out of it was 0.65. Take a look. So we did well. I mean, it's plus everywhere. Okay, so that's a step in the right direction. Take a look at our swirl, right? This was 0. We got a little bit here, and then it's reduced here. But we have a nice progression as far as RPM, right? In fact, it's pretty darn good as far as swirl. Maybe I'd like to knock those numbers down just a little bit, take this 1760 and move it up to like 500. That would be about as good as you can ask for as far as I'm concerned. We'll take a look at our intake numbers. That's what we had. This is what we've got. Now I did give it some more area at the top. All right, we took that bolt boss out, so we dropped a little bit there. We're almost the same in the middle, but we picked up a ton at the bottom. If we look at how even it is here, from top to bottom, and how even it is here, hit or miss, right? Okay, your center of the cylinder roof and your cylinder wall side versus these. We got a minus, we got a plus. Overall, it's up, because we're moving quite a bit more air. Sorry guys, not paying attention to the damn phone again. It's tough to do both. Okay, short side radius. Plus, plus, plus. Short side radius is way more efficient because we did a good amount of work to it. Let's take a look at our exhaust. Let me move this page over. Okay, this was our completely stock flows. Really is not a bad exhaust port. In fact, it's quite good. Take a look at your exhaust to intake ratio stock. It's quite good, right? And you do a little work to it, and this is what you get. All pluses. We did have some noise up here, but we got some huge gains. Every way you look, it's got a good gain, good gain, good gain, good gain. I forgot to put a pipe on this at like 500. That's my mistake. But take a look. We're over 200. And that port still has, paste ooze lines all over it. It's a mess. Looks terrible. Doesn't look like it'll do nearly that much airflow, but it does. Take a look at our exhaust speeds. They're not bad stock, right? But take a look at the improvement. Plus, 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 minus, plus, 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 plus. Only one minus, 9 measurements. Pretty good. Take a look across in the middle. 326, 326. That's tough to beat, right? And even on the floor picked up quite a bit. That's what the floor was. Dead. The floor is working much more efficiently now. Okay? So, overall, if you got a set of Magnums, whether they're cracked or not, if they don't leak water, you could spend some time on them and this makes a reputable street piece. You should be able to get a decent amount of power out of that. I know what guys are making on 250 CFM. You're not that far off. And remember, it's almost stock size. Very little metal came out of that port. That makes a big difference, right? So it's going to be very high velocity. Alright guys, I need your input on a couple things with this. Did you want me to do a second cut on this? Because I have plenty of other work to do. Did you want me to do a second cut and cut it up? Or do you want me to cut up a stock one? Or do you want me to do both? Because, you know, Charlie's time is free. So take advantage of it. And I think that's it for tonight. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good night.